All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Fruits Basket, Season 2, Episode 8.
All right, we've got ourselves a cool development going on with Yuki.
Got some W's under his belt.
Yeah, he's standing up to Akito. Akito did fire a warning shot, if you will.
Yeah.
But now Akito being here means that everyone else has to deal with him as well.
Right.
And in that respect, his attention is split.
That's true.
So he can't be everywhere at once, and we get ourselves a potentially interesting moment at the beach with
Yuki and Tohru.
Yuki.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, everything seems to be going just perfectly for Yuki. Like I'm almost surprised that Akito didn't cause more of a disruption.
Right. It feels like, if anything, Akito resents the idea that he has to be this direct. And it's like, why isn't everything just bending,
Right, exactly.
Why isn't everything just
working the way he wants it to?
Working the way I want. Yeah, exactly. So this is good. This is good.
Yep.
So far, Akito and Tohru have been missing each other just barely.
Exactly.
So that's also good. But what is Akito doing?
Right.
With everybody else.
Hopefully his frustrations with Yuki don't end up getting taken out on anybody else.
They probably will.
But yeah.
So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this beach arc. Yeah. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Oh my god.
All right.
This show is amazing.
Yeah, well, and this episode was jam-packed with so much stuff. Yeah. I was shocked
so much character stuff here.
Right. I couldn't believe that it was only the regular 24-minute length. It just felt like it kept going, and not like in a bad way.
Yeah, it had the OP and the ED in it too.
Yep.
This was a jam-packed character setup episode, and it resolved one really powerful thing, and the rest of it was kind of more of developments, kind of on the next stage of where Akito's kind of involvement here goes. But Yuki and Tohru having that moment of, I'll wait for you, Yuki. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that moment meaning so much, but not necessarily in the context of like in their kind of attraction thing for each other, but specifically in the idea of her being like, it's okay whenever you're ready
to emotionally open up,
to open back up again in a way that where you're not going to regret it. Two, it's going to be natural. It's not going to be just an overflow like you were talking about.
Right. A conscious decision, rather than just sort of something where it's all at the surface already and it spills out.
Yeah, I love this exploration of Yuki because this is character development, but it's also realization for the other characters of his development, specifically Tohru, in that not only is he more confident, but there's this aspect of Yuki kind of also taking advantage of his presence, of his actual charisma, the little bits of how he can shape an environment at will in a way that feels really like a leader almost.
Sure.
And I would say it's not all perfect. It's not the princely perfect Yuki. It's actually kind of selfish at times.
Oh yeah, it totally is. But the thing is I would say that there's a part of that that's good and healthy, right?
Yes,
because it's rough, and he's figuring out how to do it in a way that will be good, right? And he
is in a good environment to do this.
Exactly. This is one of the reasons
there as well,
right? But this is actually one of the reasons why I have been realizing, I kind of want to see what happened in that conversation between Yuki and Akito.
Oh, me too.
Because now we might not need it, and I get the feeling we're probably not going to see it. But given that Yuki is changing so much, and given that it was because of that conversation, I would like to see the details of exactly
Okay, but it wasn't all because of that.
That was
the recent milestone.
Right, exactly. Yeah. That was the milestone. So I see it as basically if Yuki is like something that is being crafted, right? And he's crafting himself. He's working on himself, right? He's gotten to that
with his workbench, you know?
right. He's gotten to that point where the clay is soft, where the iron's hot, where he's moldable, right? And then the conversation with Akito was basically the okay, and boom,
hit the hammer,
hit the hammer, right?
Yeah.
So I want to see exactly what happened, because the Yuki we got in this episode was very different from what we've seen before, and and you could tell that he was experimenting with this new side of himself, like when he interacted with Kyo, and it wasn't just the thing of like the baka
Neko, yeah.
Right, exactly.
It was I'm your better.
Yeah.
And it's like,
which is like
that's actually a little bit cold in a way that I feel like was kind of that example of where he's
still rough with it.
Well, he's still rough with it, but also he's kind of almost selfishly relishing in the fact that what he's saying in the strict, kind of zodiac kind of hierarchy sense is accurate. But it's a thing where it's in some ways a way to even more frustrate and exacerbate Kyo than his usual thing, which is to be Bakaneko.
And what I get the feeling his reason for doing that was is because the thing that he said at the beginning is, hey, Kyo, don't antagonize Akito, because then that might make him take it out on Tohru, which makes total sense. Kyo's totally on board with that. With the idea of Akito not taking things out on Tohru.
Of course,
but with the not doing anything to Akito, Kyo was like, well, hold on, I don't know about that, Chief.
You don't control me.
Yeah, you don't control me. So then what I'm guessing the reason that Yuki did that was to make Kyo be pissed at him.
Yeah.
That way he is sort of the outlet for Kyo's frustrations.
Yeah.
That way if he ends up running into Akito, he doesn't need to, vent that. So then it's, like with his conversation with Tohru, it's less of an overflow and more of a conscious decision.
Right.
Which I get that. A bit of a dickish way to do it, but, if you're just wanting to manipulate him, that's effective, right?
It's in some ways like, you've been living at Shigure's house, it seems, for quite a while.
Exactly.
But I really like this because we had a near miss with Akito walking all the way down, seeing them, how happy they are, getting kind of pissed at that, seeing that he's like, okay, he can tell that Kyo likes Tohru. That's a problem. And thus he then calls him the most deluded one, because he can very easily tell when there's chemistry.
Right.
And, does that make you jealous, you little bitch boy? Does that make you jealous?
This was such like a petty little kid thing. He decides he's going to walk there. The entire time he's walking there, he's talking about he's blowing up his own ass, right? And Kureno is just is just there because he's like, yeah, okay, I'm following you around, dude. All right.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that it didn't go in the direction of Kureno, I want you to do something to Tohru or anything like that. But then he sees them. And he just walks back.
And he just goes back. He's like, I'm hot. I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah, whatever.
Which in some ways I love, because it's the okay, I'm not gonna fight basically this battle here, but that means basically that because of the end of the episode, he's going to choose a new battle, but it's going to be specifically with Kyo. It's going to be specifically with Kyo. He's going to find some way to isolate Kyo. He's going to separate Tohru from him, which I love, because it's a reminder that one of the most powerful people in this whole dynamic here is not the Neko monster.
Nope.
It is not Akito.
Nope.
I mean, Akito is probably really powerful.
Yeah.
But Tohru is literally his antithesis. She is the light. So if Akito is avoiding her this intentionally,
right, it's I get the divide and conquer and separate and everything. That's classic abuser stuff, right?
He's trying to isolate her. He literally said as much, but then they're like, Kyo's here, and he's like,
and if you're wanting to isolate her, that either means that Kyo is a problem or that Tohru is a problem, or that they're both a problem. But either way, that's not that doesn't communicate that you seem to possess overwhelming strength in this situation.
No, it seems to me more like he has a sad little king of a sad little hill,
right?
And he really likes it when things are done on his hill, but when things are done and happiness is happening elsewhere, he's like,
damn it,
I want to be involved in that.
I want to ruin that. They didn't ask my permission to do that. They didn't ask my
permission to have fun over there.
It's something where when they were focusing on the rosary bracelet that Kyo has, I was convinced that Akito was going to show up,
break it,
and either break it or Kyo would like take it off, right? But I wouldn't be surprised, given that they didn't actually like have an encounter there.
It's going to happen in like the next 2 episodes.
Yeah, if that's going to be how he tries to isolate Tohru, is that if he destroys the thing, then okay, Kyo's a monster. Either Kyo will leave Tohru, or
he won't ever come back.
Or or something like that. Now, while I think that would be very effective, and I don't want that to happen for Kyo's sake, because that would be a hellish situation to be forced to live in forever. That could also be really fun if Akito does that, and then Tohru just puts her hand on his shoulder and he just growls at Akito.
Yeah,
like,
it's just like,
what? We've already dealt with this.
This was season 1 shit.
Yeah.
Catch up.
Too late, bitch.
Yeah. I really, really love what's going on with Tohru right now, because Tohru is bumping up against multiple levels of development of other characters. And in some ways, she's the one that could end up maybe being a little bit left behind. But because everyone dotes and cares on her here, there's opportunities for her to catch up with them.
Right.
And I really, really like those moments, because it shows not just how much she's in a safe, trustworthy, loving environment, but how much these characters are all just very hyper attentive to her because of how much their maturity provides opportunities for them to just be present in case she needs someone's specific, insight into things here.
Yep.
But we got our actual hammer this episode as well with Rin, Isuzu Soma, finally just
confirmed that she's the horse. We
figured, by logical, deduction, then it makes Kureno, because Akito said he's a member of the Zodiac.
He's the rooster,
which means Akito is the one that summoned them, is the being, the leader of the Zodiacs, head of the family. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
But, okay, Rin being here is not what I thought she was here for.
No.
She's avoiding people.
Right.
And yet she's here. And yet she's so stressed about being here that she transformed without being touched or embraced or anything like that.
Yeah.
She seemed to have, thrown off her own clothes in frustration.
Right.
That was something where, if you look at the articles of clothing on the ground, some of them are literally, torn apart.
Which makes sense, because if, most of the other Zodiacs, when they turn into their animal, the animal is smaller than they are, right? So when they transform, it's not that big of a deal. They just, shrink into their clothes. But for her, since she turns into a full-size horse, of course, all of the clothes explode, right?
That is also another thing that is rather... that is something that is rather pointed at a specific thing, because one of the defining visual characteristics of Rin thus far has been that she kind of dresses scantily.
Oh,
and
sure.
that actually might be a part of it, where it's not that she's necessarily trying to, go about and be as sexy as possible.
Rock the twins,
Right, exactly. It's more that, no, she actually has had to do that since, being very, very young. And that could have been a very uncomfortable
Don't get too
thing
attached
as well.
to any of her clothing, basically.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, okay, she's really pissed at Yuki. Yuki seems to be very comfortable with this. He's not bothered. That's
awesome.
Obviously because of his character development recently. But, wait, then why is she here?
Well, and also, she came this close to killing Tohru and we just brushed past it. A hind kick from a horse to the head is not something that you just recover from.
No.
And Yuki mentioned it hey, you could kill her doing something like that. But
because while you're in this form.
You're in this form. Yeah. But she's obviously aware of that. And
do you want to go into that a little bit, actually?
Okay.
I think she doesn't really almost ever go into her form. And I think that's why this happened.
Okay.
It's an example of where she's not actually used to being a horse that often.
That's true. Yuki did seem to be interacting with her in a very different way than I expected, given how antagonist she was being. And while a part of that did seem like it was because of Yuki's character development, it also felt like it was something where he has a perspective on her that's different than we do.
Yeah, that very few people do. Or at the very least, the audience does not have.
Right. Yeah.
because I think what they're getting at here is that it's not just that she's all kinds of, broken, just like every other, Zodiac member is.
Right.
But there's something specific that Yuki kind of understands,
he understands
about why she's here.
Her flavor of brokenness or something.
and he doesn't have any frustrations or anger or any of that with her.
Right.
He seems to almost pity her.
Yeah. Like, because I get... Kyo is generally a very level-headed person, right?
You mean
like
Yuki?
Or damn it, I was comparing the two in my head.
Gotcha.
Yuki is generally a very level-headed person, right? But I could be remembering things differently. But when it came to Tohru, he would still get pretty hot-headed, especially if she was ever in danger, right? And that's not just shown by the ways that he interacts with Kyo, because that can just be him. That's part of their individual dynamic, right? But I was shocked at how casually he just moved Tohru out of the to the side, right? But didn't seem to get frustrated with Rin at all.
It's the thing that separates, I would say, Yuki from Tohru, not Tohru, from Kyo so much that Kyo would have
absolutely flip
screamed
out
at her,
right? But I feel like we've seen situations before where even if it wasn't like a hot anger, it would still be like the cold, like, you're on thin ice, kind of a thing. So
so this is an example of where not only Yuki could be different, but
it could be because of some aspect of their relationship or something.
Yeah. Now, another thing we learned about Rin this episode is that she's been staying with Kagura's family.
That's right.
Which is really cool because of all the characters that has been like really changed in my perspective of things because of season 2. Kagura's way up there.
Oh yeah.
I am so impressed with how much I understand her now because of certain flashbacks.
Yeah, as far as like 180s that like on a character just because of like getting some new perspective that really does feel like it fits, not like it's just
perfectly.
Like not just forget the stuff from before, but like recontextualizes it completely to make it be like, oh, I love this character.
Right.
Kagura is like one of my favorites, not just like in this show, but like as an example in like a lot of other shows too.
Right.
Because it really does work.
Yeah, there's not a lot of narrative fat around her, so it's very easy to recontextualize everything because you don't have things that were kind of left out because her character was so simple and straightforward before.
Yep.
So her staying with Rin staying with her leads to that scene in the beginning,
right,
where she's like, "Hey, like, what's the deal?" Like, and then she's like, "Hey,
don't be so cringe." Yeah,
you being in love is so cringe, and I think that's a big clue. I think that's a big clue as to what's going on
because, if you think about it,
Isuzu,
no one other than maybe Kyo has said that to Kagura, like in the show, from what we've seen, right?
And even then, Kyo hasn't really said anything. I would say that.
Yeah, not like cringe. It's just like, oh, come on,
just stop it.
Yeah, stop it.
Like go away, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So if Rin is gonna say that, and she knows that Kagura has been like this like for a very long time. It's not like this is new information. So that means that it's more of a reflection of something that she's going through and thinking about and feeling right now, rather than
it's
Kagura.
A projection of sorts.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then, what element? I feel like sometimes I read too much into the animal side of things, like the horse specifically. But I'm going to read into it just a little bit here, in that this is something I feel like has been consistent across the board. Is that the solution to each of the zodiac's development lies within the nature of their zodiac.
Gotcha.
And one of the wonderful natures about the horse, in its beauty and strength, is that it is free. One of the most beautiful things to see a horse do is gallop freely on an open plain. And
there's a reason so many movies use those as like environmental shots, because it's really cool.
It's really gorgeous. And a horse running that fast is something you just will not see from any other animal, really, because it's so much bigger than most of the fast-running animals out there.
Yeah, it's not like a cheetah where it's
where it's
pretty
very
small
live
cat, all things
and,
considered,
and that. No, this is a big,
majestic,
hulking,
and
strong, majestic being, that can also reach those speeds. That's absolutely ridiculous, So I think that's her character. She is right now very much not free. She is somehow,
Sure.
Chained up by some kind of trauma, pain,
Right.
or what have you. And she is acting out her freedom in what limited capacity she has.
Sure.
But she is avoiding people by also
Right.
going close to them. So,
that's
a whole thing.
It's very interesting dynamic, and I'm very excited to see her character get explored more because, like, all things considered, the stuff that she's done in the show up until now, even though it seemed like she was going to be set up as like another antagonistic figure, and she has done some things that are antagonistic, but not really, that.
Like what?
Well, like or how should I say? She is generally unfriendly and against all the progress that seems to have been being made with Tohru and the rest of the Somas and things like that. Or
How? I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't remember really too much with Tohru specifically.
She hasn't really interacted. Okay.
Sorry.
Point is, the vibe that I got from her at the beginning was that she was going to be another antagonistic figure, right?
Sure, yeah.
And the stuff that's been happening with her has been less, in my mind, her being antagonistic as against the other characters in the story, and more of just her processing her own stuff, right? And it's something where every time we see her, I feel like I'm not fully getting a new perspective on her because I'm not getting too much new information, but at the same time, it's enough of a perspective to realize that it's different than my preconceptions that I had when I saw her the previous time.
It's almost like her character is meant to be one where you judge her like incorrectly from the first get through, and that's something that I think a lot of people do as well, specifically with characters when they're aggressively introduced in a negative light to a character that you already really like. And that's something that this show has done a couple times.
Yep.
And the fact that this is not falling into the formula of season 1 with having then a mini arc of 1 or 2 episodes kind of focusing on exploring that character's specific, emotional state, who they are, a little bit of their past and what have you. I like that we're kind of drawing out her issue because it seems like part of her issue baked in is that she is avoiding people.
Right.
And
yet she's seeking out specific people too. Like,
well, right. But specifically in this case here, she's seeking out the group, but also not going to see them. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
that's
curious.
a fun contradiction.
Yeah. Okay. Now, we had some really cool stuff foreshadowed, I think, with Kyo here, though. Kyo, specifically having just the pleasure of having the one-on-one time with Tohru while Akito summons them is just really sweet. It's just really sweet. And then them getting to, do little, goofy things while they're, well, mostly just Tohru being like super awkward in this, one-on-one context here.
Right.
It's really funny because from Kyo's perspective, I'm almost impressed like how much he's just keeping things like really just relaxed, casual, and everything like that. Because he seriously likes Tohru.
Yep.
But he's not. He's being kind of that aloof guy, where it's like, yeah, all right, whatever. Yeah, you want to do that? Sure. It doesn't sound fun to me, but all right, yeah, let's go build sandcastles.
And I will say that's a good look for Kyo because
it's a great look for Kyo. Yeah.
The shtick that him and Yuki have, of like, him being the angry cat and Yuki being the stoic, like level-headed, person. Like, it's fun, but it doesn't necessarily get me as excited about the character as much as seeing moments like this where, he can be relaxed, he can be in his own element where,
showing his range.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we also see that he's getting some, first time experiences here with the sandcastle with Tohru. Of course, Momiji comes in and cock blocks the whole situation because they're having their little senpai, you really suck at this, and then suddenly a wild Pokemon, a wild bunny appears. But yeah, there was a lot of focus on characters worrying about each other here, and I really feel like this is kind of the opportunity for Tohru to let characters around her just kind of be there for her in these instances. And that's that's a cool little thing to happen here, because while, from Kyo's perspective, he's just kind of not wanting to be involved with all the shit that goes on with the somas or what have you. So of course he's going to be with Tohru. It's not like he's going to run away from the estate or what have you for a period of time while Akito's here. He's just like, no, I just won't see him.
Yep.
I'll just stick around with Tohru.
Yeah.
I'll ignore his summons. What else is new, right?
Right.
But the fact that we came this close to having Akito ruin this, basically.
Yeah.
But we get to see them, like, I think this is really cool. It's just them having almost practice, if you will, being in this like one-on-one kind of little like quiet relationship context where they're building a thing together.
Yeah.
They're having little bits of structure, little bits of extra, form to their thing, because clearly Tohru is not like interested in any kind of like relationships or anything like that right now.
Oh yeah, that's not on her mind.
She is definitely, I would say, attracted to Yuki.
Yep.
She loves being around everybody here, but there's almost this calm, like, when you like a girl,
Okay.
but you really don't want to advance things too quickly.
Gotcha.
Like you don't want to do anything like that, but you just put yourself in her presence.
Sure.
You just put yourself around her, you listen to her, you pay attention to her. You're almost saying by your actions that you really like her or care about her and what have you.
Yeah.
That's kind of what Kyo's doing.
Sure.
But he's not being like forward in some ways, like kind of like Yuki is. So there was this weird, like, almost, I don't know, kind of difference, if you will. How the fact that Yuki, well, in the last episode, kissed her on the forehead.
The charm and yeah.
Well, right, he put on the charm, but he also like was extremely vulnerable to the point where he almost kind of like broke down a little bit in front of her. And then here again as well, he kind of like teased her in her words of like, oh wow, that got me all like flustered, But then he's like, I'll tell you all the truth another time. Whispers in her ear.
Right.
He's being kind of flirty, but it's not really with regards to like love for her. It's kind of self-focused, if you know what I mean.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It's
the idea where Kyo is being more selfless in these contexts here, in that he's just kind of being with her.
Sure.
Like he's not really doing anything that really benefits him or anything like that. He's just like,
yeah.
Sure, we'll make fucking sandcastles,
right?
Whatever.
The way
right.
I'd put it is that I personally find the stuff that Kyo and Tohru do together as being way more like personally desirable,
Yeah.
Whereas the stuff with Yuki and Tohru feels a lot more like romance story type stuff, right?
Yeah, it's very dramatic.
Yeah, like if it's in the manga, you'd have like the sparkles,
Sure.
like behind when it happens and
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas this is the more mundane stuff that is still,
it could mean a lot.
it could mean a ton.
Yeah.
Right. But it doesn't necessarily have that same kind of dramatic narrative punch as
Right.
a kiss on the forehead while your tears fall onto her cheeks.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I see it in a simple sense that Tohru has not really been forced to develop in a while. So she's
Right.
having this really wonderful stage where, as all the other characters go through their arcs, she gets to have the effect, the secondhand benefit, if you will, of being around them while they're going through these wonderful maturation stages, right? But Yuki's is so, he's changing. He's focusing so much on himself here. In some ways, I'm seeing now the difference in where Tohru and, sorry, not Tohru, I keep saying Tohru, but Kyo and Yuki have shifted. Kyo is becoming more selfless, and Yuki is becoming more selfish.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing. That's the selfish side of things.
Yeah, because he needs that's a
Right.
development that he needs to have. Yeah.
Exactly. But that focus on him, on himself, is basically making his interactions with Tohru kind of have this almost like really like a weird side to the playfulness, where it's almost too it's almost too forced.
Yeah,
if you will.
and how much of that is the because like the fact that Yuki would like have the whole charm aspect to his persona before, right? And that was the way that he would keep people at a distance. It's possible that because he's come to accept himself a lot more, that persona is less a deflection and more just an aspect of who he is.
Right.
You know?
It's a thing in his toolbox that he can bring out at any time.
Right. Without it being something that's disingenuous or
exactly.
or anything like that. Right.
Yeah. So he's getting more and more genuine. He's getting more and more open. But he obviously can't open the floodgates all at once.
Right.
He saw in the last episode that it hurt him. It was something that it was a lot to do. But it was like a practice. It was something where he's like, that will come. I will reveal all my feelings, all of myself to you. The thing is about that is that it's starting to get unequal. Tohru is not reciprocating.
Right.
Because I don't think she fully understands really what's going on with Yuki.
And this is one of those things where it's like, because Fruits Basket is not a romance show; it's a family show. First and
romance
foremost,
is
right?
Romance is kind of
there,
but within all of it.
But it is a subplot. It is not what the show is mainly about, right? And yet there's this part of me because like personally, I am more of a fan of the Kyo Tohru pairing than the Yuki Tohru pairing, but at the same time, I'm not blind. I know that that's never going to happen. Like just archetypally in anime, you will never have that kind of combination actually turn out, right? Like it just doesn't happen.
It's actually like annoyingly painful at times. Like we watched another show where there was a redhead that had really good normal interaction and stuff like that with another character, but because of certain things with the way it was written, that was actually a really good instance of that.
But the point is that if you have a prince or princess type character in an anime, or
it's annoyingly often,
right? It will just be that's the person that
we can
the romance ends up with, right? And that's not to say that ends up being like badly done, but it's just that don't hold a don't kid yourself when you're thinking about who's going to end up with who, right? It's still going to be done in a very nice way.
That's why I think that this story is more and more bringing up the idea that as she has this classic like two boys that like her kind of thing, that slowly but surely will move away from the romance side of things as all three of them mature.
Right.
And thus I think that it's in some ways Tohru's time to have that almost illusion break, if you will, over Yuki being the prince. Because he's mentioned before that he's not so princely.
Right.
That was a part of his persona. He can bring out aspects of his really calm, genteel, kind nature. But even Tohru bringing up the idea of that voice being so quiet, so light, like it's raindrops, like it's something that's barely even there. In some ways, it's like she's saying, I can't reach that. I can't go and grab that. That has to come to me. It has to be something that I let happen. So at the end of the episode, she's like, I'll wait for you. Right. I'm not going to put pressure on you to perform this in any way. And that's what I feel like it kind of was, is that Yuki was kind of admitting, like, yeah, a bit of that was still performance. I'm not fully ready. I don't regret any of it, but it wasn't the way I would
that I would want it to happen.
Way I would want it to happen then. So I'm going to keep growing, moving this direction. Wonderful.
Awesome.
But with Kyo, there is genuine aspects of their connection going in a direction that puts Kyo's relationship with Tohru way above any of the other somas. Like in the general sense, this is structurally a thing that they are building up. And I wanted to bring up the castle bit as a way to read almost too deep into it. Is that it's like they're building their own little home for the family. They're building their own little structure to things. They don't know what it is, and that's why it's just two mounds. They have different ways of looking at it. Then they go back, try it again. Oh, it's starting to look a little bit more like it. And then she's like, I want to make such a good castle that it shocks and amazes everyone. And I'm like, yes, Tohru, that's your whole...
That's what you've been doing this entire show.
That's your whole thing that you've been doing. Right. So you keep doing that, but talk about it. Bring it out into the open. Don't hide it. Don't mask it through this indirect thing of a sandcastle, because you're not really just trying to make everyone like you. That's part of your, your dysfunction, if you will, a little bit. But it's you want to help build this family. You want to help be a contributing part of it. That's what you're doing. So bring it out more, talk about it, and have it be in the context of someone like Kyo, who, given that he's matured so much, he's attentive, he's listening, he's being there for you in the midst of that. And I just felt like this was, in some ways, one of the classic, almost romantic scenes that we would get in a beach arc, which we, thank God, we're getting like a massive beach arc.
I thought it was just going to be a thing of where they go to the beach once during the arc, but no, they go back like 3 times.
We wanted a beach episode. We didn't know we're getting a beach arc. Like, they could be here for another 5 episodes. Like, there's so much they could do. Well, and hopefully Akito doesn't, destroy the whole thing in the next episode, but
that is one of the things I'm a little worried about, because I think the focus on the bracelet really was foreshadowing that it's going to be destroyed, and that it won't necessarily be able to be just repaired.
Right. And that's why they're saying, like, oh, it's from human bone from an old monk. It's like, oh shit, we can't go to Kmart and buy another and
exactly.
speak magic words over
this
it.
This isn't just something where Hattori or someone is just like, oh yeah, my ability is making a thing that does cool, here you go. It's like, no. If this gets broken, then that's that.
Yeah.
And I, even though I think the characters would, like, Tohru would be okay with Kyo's, monster form, right? We dealt with it in season 1. I feel like that would, if the show was going to, or Akito was going to force Kyo out of the story for a bit, that would be a very easy way to do it.
And this is another thing that foreshadows that. This line here. What existence is worth a sacrifice, worth more than another's life?
Yeah.
If there's anyone that could actually end up killing anybody in this story, it's Akito.
Yep.
Like, Akito so far has shown to be a character that would do everything all the way up to killing.
Yeah.
There's really nothing off the table for him.
Yep, we haven't seen him kill anyone, but we also don't have any necessary reason to suppose that he wouldn't.
Right. Right now, he's the abuser.
Yep.
He's the person in power that is abusing said power, but he is also being propped up by those that are underneath him.
Yep.
Because no one is directly resisting him.
And that's one of the things of where, and we've mentioned this before, but the faster that it gets resolved or addressed or whatever, the more comfortable I'll be with it, because seeing characters that theoretically, hopefully, would be able to do something physically to stop it and don't, that can get yeah, and we've been warned since the beginning by Shigure that they're all fucked up. Like, this is a really messed up family. You don't want to be involved here. And given that Akito is not a Zodiac, then and he's the person that summoned them there, then there's the bit of confirmation basically that he probably does have some kind of supernatural hold over all of them.
Yeah, like actually wasn't the being that actually summoned them there like God? Like,
I can't remember.
It was actually like a god or something.
I don't remember.
Like, it was something like a father, or like some kind of like great spirit. But I want to say it was like a great spirit or God, basically. Like, it was an actual being of like strong power implied in like what it was. Like, I'm almost like the way the design looks reminds me of the being in To Your Eternity.
Yep.
Like,
Same.
Very much something on that level. But if this is what kind of Kyo's little thought process is going here, and thinks of his master taking everything from someone and trampling over them, and then this sweet little moment of
Tohru grabbed
the bracelet with both hands.
Yep.
Shooketh. Kyo is shooketh. And her sweet, tender look. And then he kind of has that...
Like resigned and happy, but kind of sad also smile.
Yeah. It's just...
Yep. And then big
our boys
wave...
grows so much. Spoosh. And then the wave, of course, ruins it.
Right.
But I really think this is sweet here, because if Kyo has an ultimate arc of anything, I think it's that he will protect Tohru with his cat, basically, with his form. And that's something to come full circle on the fact that he struck her with his form.
Right.
The idea that his power, his thing that makes others fear him, will be the thing that makes her feel comfort, makes her feel protected, makes her feel safe.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, it's Beauty and the Beast, and in some ways we're like, ooh, maybe there's a shot, maybe,
I will always try and hold out hope, but at the same time, the practical side of my mind is like, no, there's no chance, no chance whatsoever.
But having this really tender moment here, but I believe also directly foreshadowing some kind of sacrifice that Kyo could make that would be either he dies or something where he basically lays everything out, maybe his life as a human being, if you will, for Tohru. Right. And I think that actually could be coming potentially soon, depending on what Akito's plan is here.
Yeah,
because Akito very much seems to be going after Kyo next.
Yeah, because Kyo is the big one that's keeping him from being able to get to Tohru right now. So
right, and that's such a devious thing to do here, in that he's like, okay, bring Kyo, like get him over here. And they're like, ooh, is this a storm I feel coming? It's like, you really are enjoying this, aren't you?
Yeah.
What does Shigure want out of this?
Yeah, and
because
I don't know.
Like
the more this kind of stuff happens, the more my trust of Shigure is tested. Right?
Wait. It's always wavering.
Right, man. Right, exactly. Because on the one hand, this is going swimmingly, right?
Yeah,
you brought Akito here,
too well.
And Akito has been spinning his wheels, right? This would have been the exact time for Akito to try and ruin things or whatever, and nope. He hasn't really been doing shit.
Yeah, he did have that scene with Hatsuharu, which was uncomfortable as hell.
But
that
at
was,
the same
I think,
time,
their thing of, this is his presence and its effect.
Right.
We're gonna have a little scene for that and then move on.
But at the same time, Hatsuharu, one of all of the other people here, I feel like Hatsuharu is one of the best people to be in that situation, right? And I feel like he took it like a champ. Like he's
Hatsuharu was incredible.
He's just like, whatever, like.
Yeah, don't laugh at me like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Telling Akito don't to do something.
What
a Chad.
Yeah.
And he's like the youngest one there.
Right. Hatsuharu is just too cool. But much better him than I don't know, Hiro or
Yeah.
Damn it, what was her name?
Kisa.
Yeah. Much better than, like one of them, right? Or Momiji, so it's like...
Momiji, I almost feel like we need to see them one-on-one.
Oil and water.
Yeah, Momiji's just like...
Akito's just like...
Shut up. And she's like, I didn't say anything.
Right. Yeah, it would either be like, no, don't hurt Momiji, or like, Akito... He's not trapped in here with you.
You're trapped in here with him.
Yeah.
He starts coloring. He starts bringing all this stuff there.
Too much happiness.
Akito's like,
yeah.
I didn't say you could do that. I don't need your permission, babe.
Right.
Yeah, I would not want any of these characters, of course, to get hurt. But I feel like you're right. Akito has been very impotent in this engagement here.
And maybe this is because of the way that Shigure is guiding him around. And I'm going to make a comparison that probably only 2 or 3 people watching will understand. I mentioned it to Caleb before, and I was like, I don't think it's even worth bringing up in the discussion because no one will get it. But if any of you have played the Star Wars game, Knights of the Old Republic 2, Shigure feels like Kreia manipulating the Hylists to go around and starve at all these places where he's going to try and feed.
Yeah, but he can't. Yeah, this all-consuming, powerful force that goes around and wipes
destroying
out
planets,
anything he touches.
Yep.
He is just devouring hunger incarnate.
Yep.
But eventually, this antagonist, basically, Kreia, pushes him into a situation where he rebounds basically his own hunger onto himself because there's nothing for him to feed on.
Keep trailing him around into places where he wants to eat, but he can't, and there you go.
And eventually he just goes mad, starves, and breaks a little bit. Yeah.
And I feel like that's what Shigure is doing with Akito here, right?
The reason why we can't fully trust Shigure, but also the reason why I'm really liking what he's doing, is that every once in a while, Akito feeds, basically.
Right. He is still using the other kids
the other
as
characters.
Bait.
Yeah.
Which is...
But he's trying to hook a big whale.
Right.
He's like, oh, I've got a big blue big blue whale, and I'm gonna take him down.
You can handle this, right, Bait? Yeah, no, don't worry. It's gonna be fine. Ooh, you got close, but, it's okay.
He's tired. He's wearing himself out.
Yeah.
He's eventually gonna, just have a meal that, makes him upset, makes him sick.
And he isn't, and I guess the thing that also makes me be, like, a little bit, like, mistrustful of Shigure is that Shigure isn't, like, sharing this with any of the Bait. Right?
Yeah,
like,
I think that's because he actually doesn't trust them to be able to to big brain and five head this as much as he is. But like,
there's a part of me that wonders if Shigure actually has like some particular motivation for this, because since he's using the kids as bait, he's not necessarily doing this for them. It makes me think that
he's doing it for himself.
He's doing it for himself.
We know for a fact that he's doing it for himself.
But we haven't seen what Akito would have done to him to make him like have a super personal grudge,
Right. We can assume so much because of how much of an evil Akito is. But there's very much this feeling with him that he's doing this as the selfless hero, in that he doesn't ask for any favors or any thanks for what he's doing here.
Nope.
He knows that he's being a son of a bitch, basically, by doing this. Pun intended. Yes. But he knows that it's absolutely necessary. So I think it's the thing where he's the I'll do whatever it takes.
Right.
I am doing this for me. I get a lot of sick pleasure out of, getting
seeing
back
him
at
squirm.
Akito, seeing him squirm. I also know that I'm being awful by doing this, but it is absolutely going to be at the end of things, if this works, something that will end up being, positive for everybody. And thus you could make the argument that he is doing it for them, but it's
probably
cycle.
not. And that's why I almost feel like we're going to get a backstory for Shigure at some point.
But it's going to be way later.
Like, exactly.
Later.
We see somebody that, like, Akito, who knows what, he did to them that, Shigure was really close to or something like that, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Shigure's backstory, I expect to be a, like, finale for season 2, or like an actual season 3 thing.
Right.
Not even necessarily anytime soon.
Because Shigure isn't being a guard dog is the thing. He's a dog that's trying to avenge its master or something like that. He's on the attack, not on the defense.
He's a dog that had a Shigure will rememure this kind of moment.
Yeah.
And he's just like looking up, and it's like, no. Shigure is not Shigure is not someone that I would want necessarily as a dog. I would want him to be my stand, and I'd be like, go. Shigure's like,
he's not
I'm not gonna go get him now.
He's a hound.
Yeah, he doesn't attack rush. He's like, I will track him. I will analyze him. I will figure out his weaknesses.
Right.
And I'm like, no, go get him right now. No. But all right. Y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access. You can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.